welcome to Light and Love, where we help you find the essence of you. Hey guys, welcome back to Light and Love podcast. I'm so excited to be back, and this is Sarah. So there is no Jalen, unfortunately. So this is going to be season 2, episode 1, and season 2 will only be me, unfortunately, until further notice. But I'm so happy to be back. I'm like really happy to be back here. And if you are a new viewer, hello, welcome to the podcast. And if you're a returning listener, seriously, from the bottom of my heart, not the bottom of my heart, from my heart, thank you so much for listening. You guys are truly what keeps me going, what inspires me and motivates me to do this. I know it's been a long time, but I'm so happy to be back and doing this for myself and for you guys. Honestly, at the end of the day, that's what this is about. So I just want to welcome you guys to season 2, episode 1. And now that it's just me, I think I can go a little bit more in depth on things, and I want to talk about my personal story, kind of why I want to do this, and what Light and Love is going to be about. So for me, I know I went over this in season 1. If you've already listened, sorry for story time again, but for me, my spiritual awakening sounds so crazy, like what the heck is that? That's what I want to go over today, first of all, and pretty much how it's changed my life. So a spiritual awakening is kind of where you wake up to your life. You wake up to life. It really is like waking up and feeling refreshed and just like, wow, like a whole new world, honestly. Sometimes it's not like that drastic, but the deeper you get into it and you think about it, that really is what it's like. Like, I'm talking now from like 2 years later, what it feels like. It just feels like you wake up from your slumber and you're ready to go and go and go and go, you know? And for me, it was like something sparked to me. So if you listened to the first season, then you know I read a book called You Are a Badass, and it really resonated with me. Like, it just made me feel something. Like, it woke me up. It was kind of like a little nudge, like, hey, wake up, what are you doing? Like, this could be you. This is you in this story, you know? That's what the book did for me. It just kind of like gave me a nudge to be like, oh, hey, like, what am I doing here? Like, what's going on here? Whose life is this and what am I doing? So that's really what it felt like for me. You kind of just ask yourself like these existential questions, like, who am I? What am I doing? What is my goal? Like, you know, just like, what is life? Like, it sounds so much deeper than what it really is, but you really start to question everything. You start to question yourself, what you've done, where you're at, and your potential pretty much moving forward is what it really is. And that's really what it feels like, is just kind of unlocking a little key to you. That's what it is. Wow. So I don't have a script. I thought long and hard about it, and I just can't wrap my head around making a script and bullet points, because it's just not how I operate, and I'm tired of like letting that hold me back. So I'm just gonna kind of freestyle it every episode, and all I can do is really just talk from my heart and my experience, and hope that you guys resonate with it and it really sparks something in you. So that's also what this podcast is about. I really want this podcast to kind of spark an interest and wake people up, kind of like that book did for me. I'm not sure how far along on your guys' spiritual journey you are. Some of you guys are maybe like past me or right where I'm at, or haven't had that yet. But I think if you're here, you're there. You know, you may be farther than you think. So Light and Love really was made by me and Jalen, because we had a lot of conversations about spirituality and like who we are, what we want to do, and really our own bullshit is what we talked about a lot. So like, we have a really good friendship, and something in her obviously woke me up, and something in me woke her up, and that's why we're like a soul. We always say we're like twin flames. So that's why we started Light and Love together last year in 2019. It was kind of like a little personal project for us. For me, it was I wanted to share everything that I was learning with other people because I felt like it was so amazing and more people need to know about this because it really is life changing. And that's why I wanted to do it. And for her, it was more personal. It was more like, I want to try something different. I want to go outside of my comfort zone. So that's what it was for her. And we ended in 2019. We were gearing up for 2020. And as you know, quarantine happened, COVID-19 happened, all this stuff happened. And let me tell you, it has been quite a freaking year for everyone. Everyone. For me, for you, everybody. Life-changing year, honestly. And I think that's why this is also the perfect timing for this, because the world, our consciousness is raising. Like, a lot of people are waking up out of that slumber I was talking about. So I feel like this is like the perfect time to kind of release this type of content to help people along that journey, because it is called Light and Love for a reason. This journey, the spiritual journey, it is not just light and love. There's a lot of darkness, but there's like everything in life has duality, yin and yang. And in order to have light and love, you really have to go through these dark places. And that's why we wanted to make Light and Love, because we wanted to help people kind of assess those situations, how to get through those situations. Because honestly, you need those situations in order to have true happiness and peace and light and love. Like, you have to have the darkness in order to have those things. Otherwise, if you didn't have the darkness, you wouldn't know what those things were or are. So I definitely want you guys to know that. I don't want it to be like a scam, like spiritual journey is like butterflies and rainbows, because it really isn't. It's not. And I don't want to sell that to you guys, because I think that would be like a false reality of it. It's a lot of learning. It's a lot of unlearning. And it's hard, but it feels good. Like, it's hard in the best way because it pushes you. It really shows you your potential. So after my spiritual awakening with Jalen, we literally went to brunch and we were talking about horoscopes per usual, because we always talk about that. Like, that's like our thing, is like horoscopes. So she was telling me about a book that she was reading called You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. And I was like, oh, I want that book, because I've always been into self-help, like personal development. I'm a Virgo, and I think that's really innate in Virgos, is just loving like self-development. So automatically I was like, oh, I want to read that book. So we went to the Amazon store on Santana Row. We're in the Bay Area, by the way. So we went to the Amazon store and I bought the book and I read it, and it was life-changing for me. It was just like a nudge to me. Like, it kind of reminded me that I could do anything that I want to do, and it's just really up to me to make the decisions to do anything I want to do. Because honestly, getting to that place where you make the decisions to actually do it takes so much work. And it takes a lot of work because of everything that's in here. Everything in our minds is just like, I don't want to say a trap, that sounds so dark, but we have a lot of like mental blockages. Just life, that's what it is, you know? That's part of the human experience, is having all these fears and freaking thoughts, and so much stuff gets in the way. And you kind of forget what life is about, honestly. Like, as you grow up, like, you forget that life should be good. Like, you should be enjoying life. So this is my reminder to you guys that if your life isn't good, that's on you. And you can change that. Like, we have the power to change that. And that's really what I want this podcast to do, is just to like wake it up in you, to like wake up and live good, live better, like make your life the best that it can be, because only you can do that for yourself. Like, no one is going to do that for you. So you really have to learn the steps and the tools to live your best life and learn your own bullshit so you can get over it. So that's what this podcast is going to be about. I'm getting like way off topic here, but that's just what I do. So just going to go with it. But that's what spiritual awakening felt like for me, is the existential questions. And some people have a spiritual awakening when you have like a near-death experience, or something very traumatic happens in your life and it causes you to look at life differently. Like, you have a choice on how you look at life, and sometimes it takes something crazy, something big, something traumatic to get you to look at life differently, or a near-death experience. Like, all of a sudden it's like a second chance. Like, if you're near death and then you get to live, like, you better make the best of your life, because it's like it almost got taken away from you, and life is so precious. So I could totally see why that could bring a spiritual awakening out of you. But also, I don't want anyone to think it's something super crazy, because it doesn't have to be. It could just be something in you, like, wakes up from your slumber and you're like, oh, what am I doing? Like, who am I? Like, who am I really? And what do I want out of life? That's what happened to me. So it doesn't have to be as crazy as it sounds, is what I'm getting at. Because some people think it's like, oh, I've never had one of those, like, a lot of people have, and you just don't know it. And sometimes it comes very naturally to people, where they've always kind of been this way, or like spirituality is very innate in some people. And to me, that means like you believe in the power of like manifestation and law of attraction. Like, you've naturally like gravitated towards things that your whole life. But for me, like, I didn't grow up learning about those type of things or understanding. Like, no one taught me those things, and I never really understood the power of our own mind. So that's why like some people innately like know these things. Like, we know a lot of things that we don't realize we know. So that was my spiritual awakening. So definitely let me know. I want to hear about your guys's and how it happened for you. And let's see. Sorry, I'm going kind of fast. I'm kind of nervous with the camera. It's a little bit different because you can see me thinking. So, let's see. Also about my personal journey. So this is how quickly I picked up on spirituality and like believing in myself and the personal development. Like, I read that book and I was like, okay, I'm a badass. I'm a badass. And the only way to be a badass is to really like go after the things you want to go after. And that came for me quickly. I was ready. Like, okay, like, like it really like sparked that in me and put the fuel in my butt. The fuel to my fire. I don't know what I just said, but it really ignited me to take action. So I was working at a hotel in sales, and I already had makeup as like a side hobby, a passion. Like, that was just something I was good at, like in the arts, in an artistic way. That was just like that was my art. So I decided like, I want to do something I love. Like, I don't want to do something I don't love anymore. Like, I don't see myself sitting here every day doing something that's not fulfilling. Like, to me, I loved my job because I loved my coworkers. I love being around people. I'm pretty social. So that's like the aspect I loved about working. I loved the people. Like, I could probably stay somewhere forever just because I like hanging out with people all day. Like, that part of it was great. But just like the actual work in itself wasn't fulfilling to me. And I felt like, why would I be doing something that's not fulfilling? So I decided to go after makeup because I was like, that's something I love. Like, I want to turn what I love into my career, into my work, because I thought that's what it meant, like what I was supposed to do. 2 years later now, I'm going down a whole different road, but it really like got me into going after what I want. So I decided I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to move to LA. I'm going to do makeup. I'm going to become like a makeup artist. And that's pretty much what I thought. Like, I already definitely made my mind. So this was July 2018. And then I planned on telling my work kind of like around Thanksgiving time, so then I could give them some time, like more than a 2-week notice, because I really loved them and they were so good to me that I don't want to just give them 2 weeks and be like, all right, peace. Like, I wanted to give them some time, So I planned on telling them in November. I was going to keep the secret for like 5 months, which is a long time. Now that I think about it, like, what the hell? But I was super happy at work, still very like chippy, my normal self, like still enjoyed being at work. But my boss called me into her office randomly, and she was just like, are you happy? Like, are you happy here? And I was like, why would she ask that? Like, it just felt weird. Like, how did she know? Because I knew my attitude didn't change. I was still like the happy me, but I was just like, why is she asking this? Like, it was so weird. It's like she knew. And so to me, like, being super spiritual now, and like the universe gives you signs, and like there's no such thing as coincidence, I felt like the old me would have kind of been like, oh no, I'm fine, like kind of just like avoided it and not been honest about the situation, because it wouldn't really feel like the right thing to do, you know? Like, I already had a plan to tell her in November. Like, it's too, like, fear would have gotten me and been like, okay, no, don't tell her because you might change your mind, you know? Like, all these things that we like think of, or it's like not safe, like what if. And we're back. Okay, so this is so different now with this setup. We have a camera going, so this time you guys can see me clearly. But yeah, there's a lot of technical stuff going on. I'd have to do all by myself in the room. Okay, anyways, so the old me would have been like, oh God, like, just what if you change your mind, or what if they like fire you for being honest, you know, like all those things. But the new me, the awakened version of me, the woke version, I never know how to say that, was like, this is your chance. Like, this is the universe pushing you, like telling you to do it, you know, like everything's gonna be okay. And this is just an opportunity presenting itself to you. So I went ahead and went with it. I was like, you know what? I am happy. And then she was like, okay, but are you happy here? And I was like, no. I was like, I love it here. I love you guys, but I've decided that I'm gonna do makeup full time. Like, I'm gonna switch my career, whatever the hell that means. But and she was pretty shocked. She was like, wow. But I was so like sure when I told her that it's like there was nothing she could say. So we kind of worked out a plan together, which was really nice. And she was like, okay, so if you're sure, then, you know, we'll put your job up and like try to hire someone so you can train them. And, you know, like maybe you'll change your mind in a couple months, which I already knew I wasn't going to change my mind. Like, I already decided. But it's just really nice that we worked out a plan together, and I was able to help them before I left. Because they really wanted me to stay. Like, I was a hard worker, and, you know, it's just, I loved hanging out there. But, yeah, the universe really, like, told me, like, okay, it's time, like, let them know. So it really all worked out in my favor, like, totally worked out in my favor. And everyone was so supportive, and honestly didn't surprise me, because they were good people, and, like, I'm a good person. And, you know, when you are confident in something, in a decision, sorry, technical difficulties, I told you guys. But when you're just really confident in yourself and you're very sure, it's just like you're impenetrable. Like, no one can tell you otherwise. So that's what happened. And, you know, everything worked out the way it was supposed to. And, like, that's kind of how I live my life now because of spirituality, is like everything's gonna work out the way it's meant to work out. Like, there's no sense in like making all this chaos in your head. It's just like, just do it and then see how it works out, because there's no such thing as a mistake anymore. It's just what happened. It was part of the plan. So that's what happened to me, and ever since then it's really just been a freaking roller coaster. Like, literally a roller coaster. Like, so many things have happened. Like, Jalen's not here because we went through so many things in 2020 already that, like, you know, changed our lives a lot. And I feel like so much has happened. And I also got my birth reading this year, which is also why I'm back doing this. I'm mostly back because of you guys' sweet messages on Instagram, but also because I got my birth chart read in April, and I'll have to do another episode on that and go more in depth and kind of like show you guys maybe like the birth chart when we did it, because it was on a Zoom call, and she sends us like the reading afterwards so we could rewatch it. But she mentioned about like my purpose, and she told me that I would be like, I'm supposed to be in front of the camera and like using my voice and healing people. So she really, I kind of knew like what my purpose was. Like, I kind of like felt myself like going towards it, being pulled towards it, but I just wasn't sure like how or what, when, where, you know, like there's a lot of open-ended questions pretty much, but I just knew what I wanted to do. And the podcast really resonates with what I'm trying to do. Like, I feel like my spiritual awakening like kind of gave me this superpower, like how to live a better life and just like really master myself, because once you master yourself, you pretty much master your world. Like, that's how powerful it is to be in tune and like learn about yourself. Like, you can, change your world really. And it's all about mindset, and spirituality really helps you get to a place where you understand who you are, why you're thinking things, how you think, and it really helps you learn about yourself, so much so where you can use yourself in the most beneficial way to have the best life that you possibly can. And also use emotions as like your guidance system, which I think is so important. But that's what the podcast is going to be about. There's going to be so many episodes of like things, because I really want to go in order of kind of how I learned, because to me, there's no perfect way to do this. Like, I can only imitate podcasts so much, because at the end of the day, this is going to be my story, and I hope that my story resonates with you guys and sparks something in you guys that the book sparked in me, to kind of get started on turning your life around, changing your life. And it's not huge things. Like, physically, my life isn't that much different, but how I feel on the inside is even more joyful, even more positive. And now, like, the way I take life is so different, and how I can like change my future, choose my future. My boyfriend told me once that like destiny is kind of like what we came here to do. Like, if you live out your purpose, then you're fulfilling your destiny. But if you decide not to live out your purpose and like go after that, then it's fate. Like, you're just gonna go on this path of fate. Like, it sounds really sad. So destiny is really fulfilling your purpose in this life, and I think it can be very difficult to do if you don't know where to start, how to start, what to do, but you really just need to like listen to yourself. And I hope that we can all get to this place together where we're all out here living out our dreams and our destiny and our purpose, and helping each other and other people. So like I said earlier, I really want this podcast to build a relationship between you guys and me, and so we can all help each other. I think community is so important, and especially a spiritual, like a soul tribe. So that's what I'm here for, and I hope that you guys enjoy this content, and I hope that we can also talk on Facebook. So I'm going to start leaving some open-ended questions that we go over in each episode on Facebook, so we can kind of talk in there, and later on incorporate other people's stories and questions into the podcast. So that is it for today's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope it already like sparked something in you guys and inspired you guys to get started on doing things, or just even made you think. Like, thinking is a good thing. So let me know what you guys thought of this episode, and if you have any questions. And also follow us on Instagram, Light and Love Podcast, Twitter, Light and Love Po1, and Facebook is also Light and Love Podcast, and so is YouTube. So it's so nice that you guys get to see me now. It's a little nerve-wracking for me, because if I like stumble or whatever, or don't look straight, you guys can see it now, but it's okay. So I will see you guys in next week's episode. Bye. Thanks for listening. See you guys next week for another episode of Light and Love.